How's it going, guys? RNG Life here, and today we're going to be talking about the World Championship qualifiers that are taking place tomorrow, or at least they start tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I do mean that it starts on June 1st and it runs till June 11th. If you guys do want to compete in the qualifiers, you might be thinking that you need a really good deck to compete. And today what we're going to go ahead and talk about is a few meta decks that will get you in high gold or platinum. I can't make any promises because I still have to test them out myself, and I'm not going to be able to do all this by tomorrow. We're going to be talking about a few meta decks. We're going to go ahead and start off with decks that I personally own that I can recommend. First of all, one interesting deck that I do have that I can recommend is going to be Relinquished. This particular build is not very good for Relinquished. I don't recommend you run this build at all. Actually, this build is pretty bad because it's just a build that I threw together. Honestly, Relinquished can work with like a really bad build, kind of like the one I have that's kind of cluttered, or you can go for like a complete pay-to-win type deck. They can get really expensive. The reason I am starting with this deck is because it's not the best to compete with because it can be easily countered. A lot of people do run Flame Spirit, whatever, the Flame Sprite, that does counter Relinquish, and it pretty much just steals it. So you kind of get wrecked there. And then even then, people are prepared to take on Relinquished. So that is just something that people side in for. So I don't know how far you can get with a full pay-to-win Relinquish deck, but I do say that it is still a good deck, and I do recommend that you can try it out at least in the early stages. Alright, and another good deck that I do have that I highly recommend, this is actually one of the ones that I really endorse because it's really strong. It's going to be Clown Statues. Alright, you can go for a basic Clown deck or a Statue deck. I know you can run them separately, but what I did is I ran them together, and they do have a lot of synergy together. They do work, but Clowns, for whatever reason, are actually really strong. Clowns, especially with all these cards that let you switch its position. There's a plane going by my house right now. Perfect, right when I'm recording. But yeah, you get a lot of cards like Desert Sunlight, and that do change your battle position for Clown, enabling you to destroy your opponent's monsters in like battle phase and whatever, which is pretty strong. And then in other cases, you have Guardian Statue, which you could just flip constantly and bounce their stuff back. And then you have obviously your Sergeant Electro, who locks down their back row and then hits some hard for 16. As you can see, there's not many hard hitters in this deck, but you don't really need hard hitters because you're going to be sending everything back or destroying it with either Clown or Statue. And then of course you got the Sergeant Electro, who locks down the back row. So then you technically lock down their back row and their monsters. So this could be a really strong control deck. I really do highly recommend this one, probably the highest of all. But in the end, this deck is really strong, and it's actually pretty cheap to make. If you can get the Sergeant Electros and maybe a Karibo, you could definitely make this deck, and you can make it pretty viable. Some additional recommendations I can make for this deck: if you add more like Mirror Walls, you could be good. If you have maybe 2 or 3 Sergeant Electros, you'd be all set. And one of the strongest decks right now, that is like a complete up-and-coming rising star deck, it's just destroying everything, is the Paradox Bros 3-star Demotion deck. That I'm going to go ahead and show off right here. This so far is my bad Demotion deck. I named it because I don't have all the cards necessary to make the deck meta. But there are decks that focus on Dark Magician. If you have like maybe 3 Dark Magicians, run the Blue Dragon Summoner engine maybe at 2, and Legion the Fiend Jester at 2. And then of course you definitely run triple Supremacy Berry, double summon, 1 or 2 enemy controller, maybe 3 if you really want to. 1,000 Knives you can run at 1. It's a really good card. It definitely helps out the whole Dark Magician engine. And aside from that, I don't have the card, but I'm going to show it on the side right here. Run Dark Magic Attack, which does help you in destroying your opponent's whole back row, which is pretty good. It completely like Harpy's Feather Duster them, and the only condition is you have to have a Dark Magician out. But this deck pushes out these level 7 monsters so fast, so hard. It is a really strong deck, and a lot of people are saying that it can be easily countered. For myself, I haven't really seen a way to counter this deck per se. Like I've seen ways to shut down certain cards. Like if you're running Joey's Last Gamble deck, you can make Supremacy Berry useless, so that kind of helps out. But one thing that a lot of people don't run, that I am personally running, because my boy Shady Penguin made such a cool deck about it. He made Guardian Angel Joan Demotion deck, and it was real spicy, guys. It was really good. It was really interesting because of the way this card works. It's a 2800 7-star, so it's really strong. It comes out and it can pretty much run over mostly anything except Blue Eyes maybe, and you heal up for the amount of damage that you deal to your opponent. So this card is really good to splash in. A lot of people are running maybe triple Dark Magician and maybe double Barrel Dragon. I, for whatever reason, only have one Barrel Dragon. I just started farming Bandit Keith actually, and I only have one Barrel Dragon. But if you do make this deck, you can run those. Another really important star card in this deck to run at 2 or 3 is Champion's Vigilance. This card makes the deck broken powerful because of all the level 7s that you're going to be pushing out. Of course, they come out as level 4s, so first turn it's not going to be able to help you, but once those monsters, once they pass turn and once they become level 7, this card becomes pretty broken. It can negate anything. It becomes Solemn Judgment basically, except you don't have to pay half your life points. The condition is having a level 7 on the field, which the Dark Magicians, the Barrel Dragons, even Joan become level 7 after a turn, so it negates anything. It's really strong, and you need to get it from farming Kaiba, which, I mean, if you guys did get that one card from Paradox Bros, I don't remember the name of the card right now, but I will put a picture of it on the screen. If you did get 3 of this card, I hear you can actually farm Kaiba. I farmed the Paradox Brothers countless times, and I only managed to get 1, which really sucks, because after a while, after all of that, I heard that card was really good for farming Kaiba. I actually tried to get it and get more copies, and it just didn't work out. I think I spent a full like 6 or 7 hours on my, like, yesterday. I spent a lot of time farming it up until like the very last minute that maintenance started happening. But I was doing that, and I still didn't get it, so that kind of sucks. But like I said, even if you do have a way to farm Kaiba, definitely try to get more Champion's Vigilance, because it's a really good card in this deck especially. You might need triple Dark Magician. I only have 2, so basically, and I also sold away the one that they gave you, the classic Dark Magician, which kind of sucks. I do regret selling it now, but oh well, it doesn't matter. This deck is still pretty good. Like I said, this deck is my bad demotion deck, but it still wrecks. It is still extremely powerful. I don't have it running at 100% efficiency, but it still destroys everybody. It can destroy all the... I can use it to farm. I have not lost a single duel yet. I don't know how, but this deck is just some kind of monstrosity. It is really strong. So you will be seeing this deck a lot in ranked. A lot of people are going to be using this. The only thing I can come up with to counter this deck is probably 4-star Ladybug of Doom, because they do come out at level 4. So even if they whatever double summon, bring out Dark Magician and maybe a Barrel Dragon, even then it doesn't counter it. It's a really strong deck. Even because then Barrel Dragon has his ability to flip 3 coins and pop one of your face down cards. So might have set your 4-star Ladybug, and Barrel Dragon can just pop it. So it has to survive Barrel Dragon. He has a really high chance of popping your Ladybug, and even if that doesn't work, this deck still runs Thousand Knives, which can pop your Ladybug as well, which makes it completely useless. As of now, I'm not smart enough to find a way to counter this deck. I literally just started using this deck today. It's really strong. It's really strong, I'll give it that. So, I guess my top recommendations for jumping into ranked and I guess trying to rise up to Platinum or King games is definitely use the 3-star demotion deck and clowns or clown statues, whatever kind of variant you want to make. Relinquish coming in at like a good 3rd. Other decks that I do not have, I actually do not have these decks, but they're also really strong decks that I can recommend, are Gravekeepers. If you guys have a Gravekeeper deck, definitely work on that. It's also another really good deck. It might not be as good as this deck, but I don't know, it's still a really strong deck. Gravekeepers are pretty broken, but if you do have that Gravekeeper deck, definitely consider running that. It's another really good deck. The fact that I don't have it, like, I don't want to exclude it because I don't have it. So I do want to talk about the deck. Gravekeepers are really strong. Aside from Gravekeepers, another deck that I do not have that is also really good are Harpy's Hunting Ground, or the Harpy Hunting Ground deck. That is another deck that you will be seeing in high rank play. A lot of people use Harpy's Hunting Ground. It's a really strong deck in general. It can destroy your back row. I don't know how well it would do against this deck yet, but it's just a really interesting deck. Keep an eye out to see if maybe they do find a way to counter this deck. It is a really strong deck. I'm going to be looking for a way to counter it, just in case any of you guys don't have this deck and would like a way to counter it. I'm definitely going to look into a way to stop the deck somehow. I have not shown off this deck on the channel yet, but I will probably be making a video on it in the next few days. Yamabakura does make his appearance on the 2nd, so I probably will be making a video on him around that time. So I wanted to go ahead and squeeze a video in for this. I'll probably be making a video on my bad demotion deck tomorrow. I might be changing some stuff around, possibly adding another Barrel Dragon or Dark Magician if I do manage to get them, since I am trying to like last minute farm Yugi and Bandicoot. And maybe even I'll add another Guardian Joan, because Guardian is really good. Guardian Angel Joan is really good in this deck. But that's pretty much it. I wanted to go over some main meta decks. I went over about 5 really strong decks in the meta that I'm aware of. I don't know about all the decks, but I do know that those 5 are really strong, and definitely keep an eye out for them. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today. Have a great day, and see you guys.